After Cafe, where ideas take shape, fight find depth, and every conversation explores the art of thinking beyond the obvious. And today I have my special guest. He's the author of the debut book, The Goat Within, no other than Mr. Timothy J. Ward. Welcome, Mr. Timothy on Abstract Essay. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I missed?
Sure, sure. Thank you, Daniel. The My new book just got launched 2 days ago. A long time coming. I've been a fitness and wellness and longevity coach for 30 years in exercise sciences, and I have clients that I've worked with, and pro athletes and people middle aged, all the way up into their late 70s, and actually some in their 80s. That what we do is we have people worldwide that we actually work with. We design customized fitness and wellness programs for them based on obviously their profile of what they're looking to overcome. Aging, as you know, Daniel, has become really front and center globally. It's not just in the US where I'm located, but the lack of knowledge on how to handle the aging process as it begins to weaken the human body, and it's become such a wide ranging. Every walk of life is really experiencing a lot of chaos with their health and their fitness and wellness. That for years, my doctors that I train, many doctors. I train physical therapists. I train mostly people in their 40s to 65 years old. That's really a bulk of the people I work with now. Their health is slipping, and they don't know why. They've tried many different ways to deal with it. And the sample size I have now is in the hundreds, if not thousands, of people I've worked with. And this is what I always tell them. I said, listen, your health will become your number one priority at some point in your life, whether you choose it or it chooses you. And what happens is, over the years, in the decades, we really have been exposed to one of the first lessons that I go into in the book is the toxic mass-produced food system that is everywhere. And I dig into it a little bit in the book, and I talk about that's the first thing you have to understand is the damage that you can cause to your body, especially over the years, by having a diet, a habit that includes sugars and um, seed oils that are extremely toxic. These sugars and seed oils and trans fats by the big manufacturers are built into 90% of the products that you and I see, and everybody listening, when you walk into a supermarket or a grocery store, even, believe it or not, even into supposed health stores. And it's really wreaking havoc on the public, on society. So I dig into it. It's really become a problem. Obesity rates, heart disease, all of these things that begin to plague the human body. And as we age, right around 40 years old, we start to lose muscle mass naturally off our body, right? We don't have that youthful vigor in our body anymore. And that becomes a compounding problem. You're starting to lose a very important tissue on your body, which is muscle tissue. And I'm sure people, listening can identify with that a little bit. Muscle mass on the human frame is actually one of the major longevity markers of the human body. There's three of them actually. Muscle mass is one, heart strength is one, and metabolic strength is the third. Now you're going to start hearing more and more talk about this. So these three longevity markers, if they're not dealt with, and pharmaceuticals are not the answer. They're actually part of the problem. Okay, so they mask so many issues, and they typically lead to more and more pharmaceuticals you have to take, right? So these three longevity markers, when you begin to understand what they are, and when you have basic strategies all the way up to complex strategies that I write for people, you begin to formulate an ecosystem in your own personal life where you begin to gain the knowledge on how do I press back against the aging process. I want to feel vibrant again. I want to feel strong again. I want to feel like, I can do everyday tasks easy, right? I don't want to have to struggle anymore. And I have a front row seat because I've been in the industry in exercise sciences for many, many years. And the people that pay attention to this stuff, they really live a much higher quality of life. They have more energy. They have a simple routine. They eat well. They avoid toxic foods. And again, my book goes through all of this stuff. Lots and lots of information in my book. It's the first book I've ever written. And it was a challenge for me to translate this information for the average person, or the person that, doesn't really want to get caught up in the science too much. I had to find a way to write this book where people would really absorb the information. And so far, the reviews and the feedback coming back has been very, very pleasing to me, because my number one goal is to not get super sciencey with people, because that really doesn't go well. But I wanted to, in the most basic terms, get people to start thinking about how do I manage my strategy moving forward. We all hear these stories. I hear them myself out of the network of people that I know. People, in their mid 40s, mid 50s, they'll all of a sudden have a stroke, or they have, some sort of disease that they're on pharmaceuticals. And, you see these people, and, you maybe haven't seen them for 10 years or 5 years or 15 years. And I do a double take because they look like they've aged 25 years. So it's all because of a lack of knowledge that happens in the first place. So creating a book that allows people to understand the big components of how this stuff happens, and giving strategies on how to deal with it that aren't overwhelming for people. It goes into, how do I preserve my muscle mass? What are the triggers I have to use so I can really not fall and nosedive into a decay mode, is what I call it, into sick and weakness, right? How can I remain healthy and strong? Because at the end of the day, that's what everybody wants. How do we do that? And I have such a large sample size of how this has occurred with so many of my clients over the years. I mean, I have people in their 70s that are in unbelievable shape. They really have put together the lessons I've taught them over the years. Some of my clients I've had for 10, 12 years. And like this one guy I talk about in my book, it's a little case study I have in my book. This guy was a retired insurance executive, C-suite executive, crazy workout guy, because he was afraid of losing his edge. I met him when he was about 62 years old, retired, 6'1", anorexic, always working these crazy things he was doing in the gym. And he saw me training a couple older women. He heard me talking to them, and the system that I have in the gym is really unique. It's actually trademarked. Okay. And he kept looking at us, and I knew, because you see people in the gym and you sort of get to know them a little bit, but I would watch this guy and I'm like, boy, that guy is destroying his body. He's hurting his joints. He is not performing the movements properly. And I actually felt bad for the guy. And one day, I write about this in the book, the little story, a little journey of somebody's health story. He just came up to me and said, "That's why my knees hurt, and that's why my back hurts." And I looked at him. I said, "Oh, you've been listening to us." And he said, "Yes, I have. I've never heard fitness put that way." And I said, "Well, it's a very complex subject, really complex." Okay. So we start talking about the human body, how it can adapt and overcome, and all these systems in the human body. It's no wonder the world and society is getting sicker and weaker. It's because fitness in general, in nutrition, in recovery, right, in cardiovascular work that strengthens your heart, it's never taught to us when we're young. It's never taught to us, right? So
Yes.
you have a whole generation of people that come through the system. By the time they have a family and they're working 50 hours a week, and they put on the 20 and 30 and 50 pounds, or they feel creaky, they can't move when they're 50 and 60 years old, it's because their body is breaking down. So my company, LifeStrong is the name of my company. We have absolutely exploded over the last, 10 years because of the systems we have that people can follow. And I've been pushed for years by some of my business advisors and mostly my clients. I train a lot of surgeons, doctors, as I said, that they're very steeped in the medical field. And I write about this obviously in my book as well. Doctors, right? Just because they have the DR in front of their name doesn't mean they understand health and fitness. And some of the doctors write some stuff in my book for me about how I have really educated them and brought them to a level that they now can apply what I've taught them, and they're so strong and healthy at their age now, in their 60s and 70s. It's a lifesaver. It literally is a lifesaver. And I know some people that listen to me on a lot of shows I've been booked on these podcasts, right? Very, very thankful for that. But a lot of people, they may not work out, or they don't really ever think about having a fitness routine. They may think of, oh, I can just eat good and I'll be healthy. Well, that's not true. That's not true 100%. So what I've done, Daniel, is I've created a system called the Fitness Quadrant. Okay. The Fitness Quadrant is the 4 major components of living healthy and strong, of having a strategy to press back against the breakdown of aging. Okay. That Fitness Quadrant is 4 things. The first quadrant is resistance training. How important it is to the human body to be stressed out a little bit so the body adapts to the stress you're giving it. That's the only way you can maintain muscle on your body. You cannot maintain or gain muscle by simply eating a good diet. There's no stimulus for your muscle to grow. All right. The second part is nutrition. I teach people about all the different components of nutrition. Why are whole proteins really important? What is a whole protein? A lot of people don't even know what that is. Okay. You need those components in your nutritional habits so you can feed the muscle growth, and you can feed the energy requirements of the body, so you make it through the day and you have energy, right? So choosing the right type of nutrition plan based on your outcome of what you want. Some people have to lose 80 pounds of fat. Some people have to gain a little bit of weight. In the instance of this guy, his name is Skinny Jimmy. He's a real person. That's his nickname. I named him in the book. He was anorexic, 6'1", 149 pounds, couldn't walk upstairs. His knees were so bad, his lower back was sore, and he was hurting himself in the gym. And he thought, more is better. I'm not working hard enough. And a lot of people end up getting hurt in the gym. So the big components that I cover are what are called biomechanics. How do I do exercises properly so I don't get hurt, and how that can trigger muscle growth? right? And I'm not talking about, muscle growth like these big freaky bodybuilders that are circus creatures. I'm not talking about that level. I'm talking about the average person, okay, losing yellow fat off their body, right? How do we lose a little bit of fat and how do we gain a little bit of muscle? I will tell you the biggest and most successful way to lose fat is by gaining muscle. 3, 4, 5 pounds of muscle on your body. That pushes up your metabolic rate so high that your body starts to burn fat off it 24/7. So there's ways to take the human frame, the human musculoskeletal system, and you tweak it and you give it stimulus. Then you feed it the right way. Then you involve cardiovascular work to strengthen your heart and your lungs. That's a big time important component. It's actually the third component to really living healthy and strong. We have to we have to have a strong heart and a strong circulatory system. How do you do that? What does that mean? I go through baby steps on what that actually means. Okay. We can actually the heart is a muscle. So we can actually increase the left ventricle wall of our heart a little bit. So your heart actually gets stronger. It grows a little bit. So that brings your blood pressure down. It brings your beats per minute down. Tell that to somebody that's 65 that's struggling right now. And I'm telling you, that's a game changer for people. But again, they lack the knowledge. And most of the knowledge out in the marketplace, it's it's misinformation, believe it or not. And I do talk about it in the book because there's no governing body in the whole wellness fitness space. Anybody can be a trainer, anybody can say, hey, I can train you. They don't know what they're doing, right? Unlike people like me in the exercise kinesiology business that has gone through school, has gone through lots of different certifications, has a massive sample size of clientele. I am equipped both with knowledge and schooling and experience, knowing how somebody that really doesn't work out may be afraid of it. How do they get coached into it? You can't bring them in red hot to a high level of training. You have to enter them to a system they can handle, and incrementally they can work it into their life, and they can begin to feel the benefits of that. And I don't care who you are. I don't care what you do for work or pleasure. Listen, healthier is happier. The healthier and stronger you are, it affects all of us. So when you start to think about those pieces in your life, right, we all have a health and fitness and wellness journey. Our stories, as I say in my book again, our life is made up of all different types of stories. Our love story, our financial story, our health story, right? Our faith story, our family story. It's all stories. And my question I pose to readers, what is your health and longevity story look like? What does it look like? Right? We can't change the past, but what we can do is we can really, really improve the future so everybody's story ends with a great ending. And that's my goal, is to connect with people and bring them up to speed on how they can commit. It's only a couple, 2 or 3 hours a week. That's all it is. I write about that in my book. You don't have to spend 12 hours in a gym or working out at your house, because we also show people how to do that. So they don't have to go to a gym. We show them what that looks like, right? Just so they can get a routine and they can understand how they can battle back against aging, against weak knees, hurting back, all of that stuff. And I'll tell you, I'm very privileged to be on shows. I'm very privileged to be able to talk to people and give them guidance, give them a roadmap where they can become the hero of their own health story. That's my goal, is to give them that input. And I absolutely love what I do because I've seen the changes it has made in people's lives. It's really incredible. And I'm grateful and very thankful that I've gained all the knowledge over the years to really provide a majorly useful tool to people. That was a long explanation.
Indeed, Mr. Timothy. And what will be your short-term and long-term goals as a debut author?
Great question. I mean, obviously, I really hope people, for less than $20 can buy the book on Amazon, and they can begin to go through the book. There's a lot of information in the book, a lot. It's not a typical fitness book. The first, 80 to 90 pages are all about the toxic world we live in, not just food, but toxic products. Okay. And these things really, really mess the human body up. So I go into details on that so people can really get a grasp of what's happening. Um, part of what I've done in the past, Daniel, is I have global patents on organic soils.
Mhm.
Okay. And I talk a little bit about it in the book about the root problem in our food supply is actually toxic soils that agriculture now has adopted over the last 25 years. Lots of chemicals on the soils. So that's really the basis for food production that has a very non-existent nutrient density in the foods that we eat, vegetables, fruits, all that stuff, right? So I talk about how that happens. I was part of a laboratory that did soil sampling, and we did plant tissue sampling, where we would actually take the plant and grind up the plant, put it through our laboratory. It was incredible. It's the biggest laboratory in the world now for soil testing. It's located out in Ohio. It's called Logan Labs. Susan and Bill McKinnon they were they were partners with me. Bill is a genius soil scientist. Speaks all over the country. I mean, he is just a special man about organic soil practices in commercial agriculture. But when you start to read a little bit what I wrote, I didn't go into it heavy. It could be a book on its own, and maybe someday I'll write one. But it really gives the reader an understanding of how toxic the food system really is. So you have to choose wisely. I give solutions on how to do that. It really is important. And I always talk about, listen, if you learn this stuff, share it with your spouse, share it with your kids, share it with your loved ones. Take the people closest to you and maybe get them up to speed a little bit. You'll be surprised at how many people are interested in understanding this stuff, right? So one of my first goals, obviously, is to sell books. All right, I want the knowledge to get out there as much as possible. In the book, people will have favorite parts of the book and not so favorite, I'm sure, right? But it'll give them enough of a grasp on the four major phases of longevity and living healthy, where they can actually practice it. I give them little practice routines that they could actually start with. All right. So I think it's really useful for people. If there's pro athletes, which I've trained before, I can design really heavy duty customized workout routines. So in the book, there's ways to stay in touch with us. Obviously, my website is in the book. People can go on the website, okay, and interact with us. There's some freebies on the website. They can download some videos and really kind of get a little bit more of an inner look at what we do. And there's also some paid for things that we do. A lot of people want custom work out of me. I'm only one guy, and the requests are going through the roof. So I have those offerings as well on the website. But my whole goal is to really get people healthy and strong. They have to have the desire to do that, of course, right? But there's a right way to do it, and there's a wrong way. And the way society is going right now, sickness and disease is rising faster and faster. It's really an epidemic. So I'm trying to straighten that out for people that really want to know. And that's me passing the light on to people. And I meet so many unbelievably nice people from all over the world. I train people in Italy, California, Chicago, of course, all up in my neck of the woods. I'm on the New Hampshire coastline, just north of Boston. I've just been blessed. I really have met so many incredibly nice people, and I've really changed the trajectory of their life. And for that, I'm forever grateful. So that's one of the things I would love for people to pick the book up. I'm not a big known author, right? So I have to kind of kind of get out there in the market and have people become aware of the book. It's very, very different than just an average fitness book. There's other strategies that I talk about in the book that I believe are the foundations that people need to adapt and understand while they start to learn a little bit about what they might be able to do with a little fitness routine.
Indeed. So, Mr. Timothy, can you please invite our listeners to support your Debbie book?
Yes,
Mr.
please, go on Amazon, buy the book. You can get an ebook. Go onto our website, fitnessquadrant.net, and interact and learn. Take a little time. It's going to hopefully spark something in you that will really become an important thing in your life.
Yes, people, let's support Mr. Timothy because if you support him, for sure, more and more empowering books like this to come. So, Mr. Timothy, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you so much.
Monica people, see you soon.